gang of roustabouts are cutting up cinema like it's never been cut up before. There's going to be reviews. There's going to be interviews. There's going to be hijinks. And there's going to be a whole lot of cutting in this room. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast. Coming at you 128 kilobytes per second.
Hey everyone, welcome to another special episode of the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. As always, as usual, I'm your host, Tom Detloff, and I'm joined today by two of my co-hosts, Max Cook and Adam Shoulder. We have Tim Blake Nelson with us from Wonderland. We're covering Hollywood Hills movies. We're doing Wonderland. We got the great actor Tim Blake Nelson with us. In a little while, we'll be joined by the director of Wonderland, James Cox. Adam, how are things going with you, man?
Doing good. Happy to be here. My first appearance of the season.
Yes, it is. Welcome to season 5, Max. I'm sorry, Adam. I'm sorry. I'm freaking nervous. I got Tim Blake Nelson on the line.
You have every right to.
I'm dying here, Max. I'm dying.
Max, help him out.
I know. Really? Alrighty. Well, anyway, Adam, we got Tim Blake Nelson on the line today. We're covering our theme this week on the show is the Hollywood Hills. We're covering Larry Clark's What's Up Rockers. We did the Canyons, Bret Easton Ellis and Paul Schrader collaboration last week. And we're also doing Wonderland, directed by James Cox, and it stars so many greats, one of them being Tim Blake Nelson. He's going to be with us in just a couple minutes to talk about his experience on Wonderland and just talk about his amazing, impressive acting career. What was odd to me, Adam, was a couple of weeks ago, I'm sitting around watching some cable, and Donnie Brasco's on. Now, I've seen Donnie Brasco, quite a few times, but I hadn't seen it in a few years. And there's this wonderful scene where the movie just kind of like slows down in the middle, and the Brasco character, played by Johnny Depp, is, he's like just really tired, and he's getting all worn down, and he has this wonderful scene in this hotel room with two FBI guys that are like doing the sound stuff. And now here's the messed up thing. They're played by these two little roles by two guys that over the next couple years after that are going to become some really, really greats of acting. One is Paul Giamatti, and the other one is Tim Blake Nelson. And these two are sitting there running the scene with Johnny Depp doing the forget about it thing, Max.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
I don't know if you remember that, but it's these two guys that are in that scene.
I have not seen that film since it was in theaters, and I own it, so now I'm going to pop it in this week.
You got to pop it in. Just to get that scene was awesome. And I've always been a fan of Tim Blake Nelson, Max. I got to tell you, we did recently As I Lay Dying. We did this about a year ago, and all of us on the show were raving about his performance. I mean, it's really one of the best performances I've seen in a long time, and I just loved his work with James Franco, and I'm hoping to talk to Tim a little. Now, they're working together again, from what I understand, and I can't wait to talk to Tim about what they have in store for us, Max, because it's completely, something that's going to blow you away, which I'm really excited about. But real quick, before I start kissing Tim's ass,
it sounds like you already started doing it.
I know. Well, he's awesome, man. And I'm a big fan of this movie called The Last Shot with Matthew Broderick, Alec Baldwin, and Tim Blake Nelson. And he is absolutely hysterical in this movie. So, the dude does it all, man. He does drama. He does comedy. He can do whatever the heck you want. He's Mr. Tim Blake Nelson. He's one of the stars of Wonderland movie we're covering this week. Let's welcome Tim to the show. Tim, how the heck are you, dude?
I'm very well. Thank you for all those kind words.
No, it's well deserved, man. We are covering Wonderland, directed by James Cox, and it stars Val Kilmer as John Holmes, and you play one of the henchmen involved in the Wonderland murders that It's just it's a fascinating story. Let's just start off pretty easy with you, Tim. I mean, James Cox is directing here. It's got a great cast. How did you get involved with Wonderland?
Well, I originally met to play the role of Launius that was played by Josh Lucas.
Right.
And I got along very well with James. I loved the script. It had been given to me by the producer, Holly Wiersma. And so I had a wonderful meeting with James, and he essentially said, well, what role would you want to play? And I said Launius, because that's the role that most interested me. And he made the right decision in going with Josh Lucas.
He's great. Lucas is really good. Really good in this movie. All you guys are fantastic. Make no mistake about it. It's a top-notch cast. But that's really gracious of you to say, Tim, because Lucas is really good in this movie.
Yeah, he's wonderful for the role, and it was the better choice. And then, so I was not cast, and they then for my role, they cast Kevin Pollak, who looks like the character and was right for the character. But they had a dispute with Kevin either billing or on-set accommodations. I'm not sure which.
Oh, wow.
And so they just couldn't make a deal. It didn't work out. And Holly and James called me and said, we start shooting in 3 days. Would you come and play this role? And Kevin was the right choice for the role. Wonderful actor. I've always liked Kevin. But he favored the guy.
Right.
And so I said, I really liked the script, and the only problem was that my wife had just given birth to our second child 11 days previous, and I said, is it okay if I split for a few weeks to go do this role? I really want to do it. And as she often does, she said, yeah, why don't you go do it? It's fine. A lot of the onus right now is on me anyway with a newborn. You're just going to have to log some serious hours when you get back.
Yeah, she knew what she was doing right from the start.
So you're sitting there, you're preparing to be a father, and then you got to get into the Billy Deverell character.
Yes. And so I got on the plane and went out there, and your point is quite apt, because I had no idea what sort of world I was descending into. And the way James works, is that the on-set experience and energy is meant as close as it possibly can to resemble what's being described by the film. And so the experience was a manic and addled one. And we filmed mostly on a stage. The interior of the Wonderland house was on a stage.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And we did the exteriors on Wonderland, but the interiors were all on a stage. And we would literally go onto that stage and into that house and not leave for 12 hours.
Right. Like the characters. What's great about what Cox is doing here, and and what you guys portray on screen, is that dingy, barely lit room of just drugs and alcohol consumption that probably go on for days, man. And like every time, you're getting those interiors, Tim, you guys are just you guys are on fire, man.
Well, that's very much to James's credit, because the pace and the energy was, he was the inspiration for all of it. He kept the energy manic for 12 straight hours and every day. And,
well, let me ask you a question. How was he able to manage that? In between takes, basically, there's so much. Anyone that's been spent any time on a film set knows there's just so much waiting. what was his process that kept that energy going?
He's
throughout?
essentially a very impatient guy in a constructive way. I never had any. I have nothing but admiration for James. I think he's a wonderful director. But he moved it along, and he had to, because
It was 18 days, right, Tim?
Short
it's
shoot.
a very, very quick shoot.
And I gotta think that might even work for a film like this, to have everything done at such a fast pace, that high energy. You know, I mean, it worked for Spielberg in Catch Me If You Can, which was actually twice the amount of days as this one. The 18-day shoot. I mean, does that in an odd way, does that help you guys?
Well, yes, it did. It certainly helped. It was what inspired what I'm describing, and Val was also a very big help. I can't say that this was filmed during Val's best times in life, but where Val was in his life, I do believe lent itself to this material. And
Right.
he was a very unpredictable scene partner. Again, in a very good way. I
Right.
found it incredibly exciting. I never knew, when I was with Val, I never knew what was going to come out of his mouth. I never knew what sort of mood he was going to be in.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah,
I never knew what was going to happen. And so the consequence of that is a succession of scenes in that house where all the characters are persistently and thoroughly on edge. And that's kind of what the movie deals with. So a lot of it had to do with how extraordinary Val is.
Wow. That is, I mean, that's certainly amazing. He's quite an extraordinary actor. I mean, his resume alone is extraordinary. There's a great scene with you and him, Tim, that blew me away watching this yesterday. And it's really simple, and it's nothing that would normally, I think, catch everyone's eye. But John Holmes comes in and does like 4 or 5 lines of cocaine and walks out. Like he just walks
smoking pot on the sofa.
Yeah, and you're just your character's always smoking weed for some reason.
Right.
I mean, does your character do anything else besides the weed?
No, he's Billy Deverell. No, he just basically, he doesn't do the coke.
Right.
And
Billy must have been a cousin of Bubba from Good Girl, right? From The Good Girl.
very distant cousin.
Yes.
But that was really, really. I didn't know whether he was going to just do the coke and leave, or reach out and try to strangle me. And so the marijuana haze that I'm working with there is really about making myself impervious to whatever might happen.
Right.
That really comes from Val. Val made that quite easy.
It's amazing that because Kilmer is, look, he's like you, Tim. He could do it all. He could do drama, he could do comedy, and it's. I'm happy to hear that he was there pushing you guys as the lead, and that's, as an actor, that's all you could ask for somebody that you're bouncing off of, man, right?
Yes, that's exactly true. And I tend to have really good relationships with these hunky lead actors. And Val was no
interesting.
I don't threaten them. I'm just I'm a sort of gnome-like character actor, and so they like.
Right. So working with Clooney, no problem.
No problem. George doesn't have a problem with anybody, but and Val and I became quick friends and remained friends after that shoot.
That's great. It's definitely. You're as an actor right here. You're really catching fire, Tim. You're doing a lot of great work, and this movie is awesome. I'm going to pass you off to Max Cook. He's got a few questions for you.
Sure.
Max, why don't you get in on Tim here?
Well, I got to tell you, it's just great hearing him talk, and that's the thing about you. Tim, especially when I watched Wonderland, there's a lot of eccentricity going on. There's a lot of explosive rage flying around. You can smell the dew on these people's bodies. It's funky. It's dark. This is a crazy time. And you are once again, and you've done this in so many of the films you've been in, you just seem to kind of be the weight of it. And you seem to kind of make everyone better. And it was crazy about this film because how clearly and economically you and James Cox and your fellow actors achieved the telling of this very brutal story. Because I grew up in LA and I knew nothing about these murders. I'm a Helter Skelter guy, but this was just as compelling a case in many ways. And in the research I did about the murders after seeing Wonderland, I couldn't believe how much you guys really told the truest story in a short period of time. And I'm wondering, Tim, what your perspective was about the entire murder situation with that.
I tried not to have my own perspective as Tim Blake Nelson about it. I mean, meaning the actor, because I felt I could best serve what James was after by diving in and rallying for my own character and what he needed. And so I have to tell you that in terms of a perspective that I had on it, I tried to divest myself of that during the shooting. Now, I can talk to you about what I think of it after the fact.
Okay.
But really, during the shooting of it, James wrote a script that was heavily researched. He got it production designed really, really, really well. And the shooting, as I just said, was manic in a way that imitated the story we were describing and inspired, therefore, our telling of it. And so really what I tried to do was dive in as utterly completely as possible, which was its own special chore given the fact that I was newly a dad with this beautiful little baby at home. And so, that was really my own special chore. And ultimately, having an objective position about Wonderland wasn't something I wanted to get into. After the fact, obviously, as you yourself were implying, it was an iconic moment in Los Angeles. As the 70s turned into the 80s, and of course, this was dealt with gorgeously in Boogie Nights because the Eddie Nash character is, for all intents and purposes, in Boogie Nights, and that's what he's doing when Thomas Jane is at that house, and
it's Molina, right? Alfred Molina.
Yeah. Thomas Jane and John C. Reilly and Wahlberg,
Hey guys.
Hey, it's James Cox.
Hey, welcome.
How are you?
He's here.
He made it.
Hey, James.
I'm not a big. I hate to say this. I'm not a huge Skyper, so I'm like a complete idiot right now. I can't see you guys.
That's all right. It's all audio here, James. So don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you've missed a lot of ass kissing about your film, James.
Is this Tim Blake Nelson?
Hi, James.
Hey, brother. How are you, man?
I'm very well. I'm very, very well.
Well, Tim was talking about how much you lent yourself to this movie and made it possible for all these actors to really understand what you were going for. He said nothing but the nicest stuff about you. And we just mentioned Boogie Nights.
Damn it. I missed an ass kissing. This is wow.
Yeah. But we just mentioned Boogie Nights. And, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was coming off of the Boogie Nights success. Now they very, 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 very loosely do the James Holmes thing. Now you're coming in here making this movie and you're going full force. I mean, you're detailing these murders. You're detailing what this robbery was like. Were you at all intimidated by the success of Boogie Nights with making this movie, or did you just throw that on the back burner and just do your own thing?
Probably the second one. I mean, it was what I never knew that the third act of Boogie Nights was based on a true story. When I watched it, I was a huge fan of Boogie Nights, and I lived up the street. I lived on Wonderland, and right before I left, I'd heard about the murders, kind of hearsay, at a friend's house, and I was like, "Can we swear on this thing?
Sure.
Get the fuck out of here!" I was like, "Come on!" There was this killing down the street, and then oddly, I was reading a script about it about a month later, which was the original one by Samovitz and Scott, and they kind of went over common territory in terms of Boogie Nights. It was much more of like a biopic that was like a darker, more violent, version of Boogie Nights in like on a smaller scale. And I didn't really have any interest in going over that territory because I thought that Paul Thomas Anderson did such an extraordinary job with it. And, like I think I came in right in time to hear Tim Blake Nelson mention that, and I agree. It's such a good movie. But the idea of like, and I'm a big Rashomon fan, and like,
right, yes, yeah, because you have a Kurosawa feel to this.
Yeah,
as far as the storytelling is concerned, absolutely.
Thank you. That's a real ass kissing comment.
It's great. I mean, but
it was based in truth. What Cox did with the film was based in truth. There were varying versions of the story. It's so nuts.
That's what's so brilliant about this film, Max. That he it is based on people's interpretation of what they feel is reality. And it's messed up. I mean, it's really.
It was odd. It kind of came together. Like it definitely came together. And as Tim, there was a haunted set. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I went in there kind of as an agnostic / atheist or whatever, and I definitely came out, as a believer. I don't know in what, but it was crazy forces. And Tim was one of the three guys that, the way I remember it, at least, I had a lot of actors coming up to me having had nightmares the day before playing their part, and all the nightmares oddly lined up of like being visited by their dead true counterpart saying shit, "Get it right," with blood out of their head.
Yeah, and how could they get it right when everybody is, like telling a different story here?
I was like they're right before the movie started to really come together. I got obsessed with Ray Liotta's voiceover in Goodfellas. And the way that kind of seams between voiceover punchlines and into narrative and back again and scene work. And I was writing a little kind of free-flowing thing or whatever, and it was like this, it just kind of vectored together where it was like these pages that we're writing that was like heavily like voiceover kind of narrative-based stuff, and then, or narration-based stuff, and then the Rashomon influence, and then this true crime lands. I'd read the script, I couldn't get it. It came back my way. If I remember correctly, the business was going through a strike at the time, so there was this like weird, pause or hiatus everyone was in, and that once it came back, I dig into it, and it's like one of the guys I was just hearing. I think it was either Thomas or, am I on with Thomas and Max?
Max and Adam, yeah. Tom, Max, and Adam.
Tom, Max, and one of you guys were saying it really, the true story lent itself to that nature, and that was the thing that was really weird. Was it was like you had David Lynn telling his story, then you had John Holmes at the hotel telling his story, then you had Susan Launius and the cop. Everything just kind of fell in this place where it was like we went back and watched Rashomon again, and memory serves, it's like that last piece of that movie is when Kurosawa kind of, that's Maggie barking. That's what
I love Maggie. I love her.
Tim, did you watch any Kurosawa in preparation for this film?
No, I didn't. I mean, and as I said, I had been telling how I ended up in the movie, James. I had very little time. I mean, and essentially, I was offered the part and on the plane the next day.
So they didn't have any Kurosawa movies on the plane from New York to Los Angeles.
They probably do now.
Yeah.
I remember, Tim, I think it was like, I can't remember exactly which hotel if you were staying at the time, if it was the Chateau.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I came over and I played you.
Yeah, you played me the
Boy, leave my soul.
Yeah.
And that was before the Kid Rock cover of it, and it was Dobie Gray, if I remember.
That's right.
That was really great. That was incredibly helpful.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, James, because what's also great about Wonderland, guys, is it obviously has a kick-ass soundtrack that just moves from beginning to end.
Oh my God.
But
Fantastic.
in between the great rock and roll, you have the great Cliff Martinez working for you.
That's right.
He was something. He came out of, he works a lot with Steven
Soderbergh. Yeah. We just did. It's so funny because our two previous episodes, we paid homage to Cliff Martinez, and we talked about his work with Soderbergh and his awesome work with Nicholas Refn as well. So I'm like really.
Oh, did he do Drive and all that stuff?
Well, we talked about Only God Forgives.
Okay.
But during that conversation, yeah, we bring up Fear X and Drive and Bronson, and
Drive is such a great soundtrack.
Yeah,
so
man.
much fun.
Yeah.
Did Cliff do Drive as well, or did he come on just for God Only Forgives?
Well, he didn't come on. I had Larry Smith on. He was the director of photography for Only God Forgives, and he was a great guest, man, because he worked with Kubrick. He did this dude DP'd Eyes Wide Shut.
Wow.
Well, yes, Cliff did do the score for Drive as well.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe
Christiana.
Sorry,
That's all right.
Hey, I got something I wanted to talk about with Wonderland, and Tim, you brought this up right before James, you jumped on here about the production design of Wonderland, which I think is phenomenal because, in my opinion, that like 1980, 81 right there, that's kind of a hard time to capture because I don't think it's quite as distinct as a few years earlier in the 70s. The 80s that look hadn't really locked in yet, and I thought it captured a time and place so well, not to mention just the straight up production design, but also how the story unfolded, how you used the newspapers and crime scene photos, all the extra elements that went in for some of the storytelling was I thought brilliant and right on the money, and just wanted to hear a little bit about how that all came together.
Well, there was a editor named Jeff McAvoy, who I had I kind of came into Hollywood at a early, got a young start and found myself working with the guys who wrote High Fidelity on a TV show that was very short-lived, and I was psychotic. I was just a nightmare, and would sit with these TV editors, and these guys are like, bro, here's the deal. They got their way of doing it. And
yeah.
I was coming off my first movie, which was a tough kind of, trial by fire, going from student to features and all the trucks and all that shit. And so when I got and they hadn't let me use my DP, I had done this short, so when I got to TV, the DP had brought me there, and I did 105 setups or some shit in a day. And these editors were like, what the fuck is this guy all about? And so they brought in this guy who was an additional editor named Jeff McAvoy, who he just got my shit. He was like, this is short attention span cinema. I get it. So it was like bang, 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 just a lot of stuff. And he just got me. And I was like, yo. So,
because that all helped capture that manic energy, and Tim was talking about just from the acting perspective, the capturing that energy, but the filmmaking itself captures that energy, not just the performances.
Yeah, so the LA Times was on set at some point because of the John Holmes, and they're like, how do you account for the energy? And I'm looking over at Brian Morena, his wrestling name's Joey the Wob, and he's because I come out so he's doing focal marks on the follow focus, and I'm like, well, we just want to be a family here, and everybody's like, it's really important that we all get together. And Joey leans down and does a rail B12.
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 That's the first AC. He's doing a fake blow. I was like, holy shit, did you see that? So anyway, I had reached out to Jeff McAvoy when Wonderland started cooking up, and I was like, we should cut a promo thing. So when I sit in the room with these people, and that was like how we, like with Val, like Val came, he was going to do Eddie. We just needed to get the movie made, and Val, at that point, kind of his name on the poster got the movie made.
Sure.
So he read for Eddie. I wrote it for him, but he wouldn't.
Wow.
He wouldn't read it for John because he refused to do the porn shit. He's a real. He really puts women on pedestals, and he's like didn't want to do anything that was derogatory to women and stuff, and I was like, yeah, but just, and so when he read it for Eddie, after like an hour and a half, I was like, dude, you're doing it, you're going to do it, you're right, you're in, and he's like, yeah, okay, he's laughing, I'm in, and I was like, I'm waiting, I'm like, come on, ask.
Yeah.
Like, James, what if I played John?
Nice.
Absolutely, you are John Holmes. I wrote for you. You're born to be John Holmes. And and my friend, the assistant editor comes running over. We don't have an editing room. We don't have a movie yet. He comes running over. He opens up the laptop and he has Amber Waves. Not Amber Waves is the name of the girl in Boogie Nights.
Right.
God, what is her name? But she did Exhausted, which was the movie that Paul kind of. That Burt Reynolds, that documentary that Amber Waves does on Dirk Diggler.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
That's an actual documentary.
Great.
And that's called
That's
Exhausted. Awesome. And so it's like, and it's from John's heyday of the freebase shit, where he is just, he's not broken down. There's a couple of shots where he's too fucked up, but he's really high and really cool in this one shot. And he's just like got the beard and he's like, skinny as a rail and looks just, not like his face just looks good. You know what I mean? He looks like he's 43, but he looks like he's like 19, And he's like, and then I was thinking, and I open up the laptop and I'm like, are you telling me you don't want to play this guy, Val? Mm-hmm. And Val's like, that meeting went another 8 hours.
Wow. We're talking with James Cox, the director of Wonderland, great actor, Tim Blake Nelson. James, I love everything about your movie. I really do. I love it so much. Only thing I could say that I'm a little bit disappointed in was the fact that you leave Michael Pitt out of this movie.
Well, he just was, Michael was such a baby when I had seen him in, what's the Larry Clark movie? Bully. So good in Bully. And loved Bully. And had gone up to Larry. This was when I was a psycho and was like, Larry, that's the best movie this year. I was just so blown away.
This is a great movie, man. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yeah. I think when they're playing video games on acid, that shit is incredible.
It's intense stuff, man. Yeah.
So he came by to set to visit. And I think Holly was like, why don't you be in a scene? He's like, all right. And I'm like, we have like Princess Leia driving a Volkswagen. You know what I mean? It's like we have like Dream Galap, it's like it's everywhere. So I was like, all right, well, you want to drink a beer at a bar? And now, so he jumped in the scene and Michael and I laugh at it when we see each other. I'm like, I gave you your story. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. Max, I know you got more for the great Tim Blake Nelson, so I'm going to let you get back to that, dude.
Oh, I've got 19 questions for Tim, but there is one thing I want to ask James. I want to know how much facial hair becomes a frustration when making movies. You got your beards, your wigs, your spirit gums. Are certain actors able to grow out whatever you need from them naturally as soon as they know they have the part, or do you have to call in hair appliances?
Well, I think we took some heat on the beard on David Lynn because it's like you can see the glue in some of the shots, but it's a big deal. It's everything. Yeah. It's everything. And like both, especially like on Dylan McDermott, I just worked with Ryan Phillippe and stuff. And like, like those, like Dylan, you know, you could see when he put his clothes on and when he got that beard in front of the, you know, the first photographs for the fitting, like that was huge. It was in terms of getting to David Lind. On the other front was like Val was, you know, he was like, he came at me going like, you know, I don't know, you know, like we had a real rushed situation, and he was like, I'm going to start with Jim to get to John because of time.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And it was like, because of Wonderland Avenue, Jim Morrison and his work on Jim is ever present with his stuff. He worked on it for like 2 years or something like that. So he literally was like, came up on the first fitting, and he had the snake skins, and he had like, and he was like, I got my John Holmes rising. we were all just, because, you know, at one point I was like, hey, Mr. Kilmer, you want to come down off that fence and make a movie?
Wow.
And he was like Rothschild in The Doors, because I'm such a fan of that movie.
You were very sensitive about presenting John Holmes's cock. You did it in a very discreet, almost tasteful manner, with him whipping it out at the party. Was that deliberate?
That was, you know, I did not have any interest in, so almost to the point where I like kind of regret some of this in the parties, because it wasn't like, talking to guys who were there, they were like, the only thing about the parties is that like there would have been somebody fucking in every corner. And I was like, oh really? Like, because that's like not the way that parties necessarily go down these days. I mean, some of them do and stuff like that, but like this was like a big 70s, 80s, and the Wonderland Gang was like the lights never got turned off on the 70s. You know, it was
So
like a late.
you're saying you wish you went further with it, even
Not the cock part, not
but
John
just
Holmes'
the
cock, just the
scene.
nudity. My whole
Yeah.
take on the whole thing was porn, nudity, all that stuff. I was like, I have no interest in going anywhere. That's what they did on Boogie Nights. We're not doing that. This is a true crime murder movie. It's about the blood on the walls, and I had this whole vision. And then when I heard a couple notes, you know, after shooting it, it was like, oh well, you know, if it was authentic to the era of that party, I would have loved to have had like just hardcore coitus going on in the corner, because I think a lot of people went into the porn star movie going, where's my porn? But yeah, that was, you know, and there was, you know, I think both Val, me, everybody was like, this is, you know, what are we going to do? We're going to do the, like when Dirk whips that shit.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it's like, I would bet that was like a $500,000 $1 million fake cock, or it was
right.
real cock, whatever, you know. But everyone's seen that thing, so it'd be like you're just kind of tracing a movie that did it so perfectly. So
Right.
we were just kind of like, look, we get it. And what was really, and this was a credit to Mausner, and you know, like it was like, and he's a co-writer. You know, it was like, it was about the humiliation, and that he was about having that gun on it. So it was really about the eyes.
Yeah.
Like the look on everyone's face and the action and the behavior. It wasn't really about the gratuity.
Right.
Tom, do you mind if I switch gears entirely?
I was thinking about, because I want to ask Tim a couple of questions, if it's all right
Exactly.
with James. Yeah, definitely. All right, Max, you kick it off with Tim. All right, gotcha.
Tim, I need to know what it was like being such a huge part of such a hopeful musical resurgence, namely the Oh Brother soundtrack and subsequent tour. And are you bummed out that we're right back to acts like Kanye and One Direction and Shitsville? What happened to the American root music?
You know, this is all cyclical, and
why is the public so fucking fickle?
I'm not sure that I completely agree. You know, the public is always going to gravitate toward least common denominator music, and yet at the same time, I think that there's a tremendous amount of really good music being made right now for the more specialized audience. So I don't really
like what? What are you listening to?
Yeah, because Tim, I'm curious too, because I maybe I got my head in the dirt, but I'm not seeing much out there.
Do you listen to the Low Anthem?
No, but I will look into that. Absolutely.
Who the hell are
Cox, do
they?
you know them?
No.
All right. Do you listen to the Decemberists?
I've heard of the Decemberists.
Yeah, no, they're a great band.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. What about the Punch Brothers?
Yes.
Look at this, Adam.
Well,
Music.
I'm a fan of all of this music, so I track it. It's out there. You're right, Tim. It's out there. It's just it's not mainstream, but you got to look for it. It's there.
I love Alt J.
I don't know them.
Just 2 albums, but they're completely current. They're fantastic. I'm advantaged by having a 16-year-old son, so I'm basically
See, that helps. That definitely helps.
able to be 16 again.
So you're saying your 16-year-old son has great taste in music because this is all good stuff?
Yes, he has incredible taste in music.
Wow. Lucky
you.
you.
Pretty much anything produced by T-Bone Burnett is gonna fill that need of the of that music.
Yeah.
But
That's awesome. I loved it when he worked with. I know you guys aren't Elvis Costello fans. I am, but his work with Costello was really good. I remember they did some shit in the '80s that was really awesome.
There's a new album. Well, it's maybe 2 years old at this point that they did together.
Tim,
yeah.
How do you balance 3 sons, a wife, and all of your theater and film projects? What is your routine, and are you ever exhausted?
James, I was talking about how when you guys called me, because as I recall, Kevin Pollak, you guys couldn't make a deal with him, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because he looked like, and I wanted to play Launius, and you made the right choice and cast Josh Lucas, which was the right choice. But, I rely on the generosity of my wife, and I'm very selective, more and more selective now in terms of what I do. And since I've got kids who go off to school in the morning, I get up very early and I go to bed at a reasonable hour. And I don't watch television, and I don't do any social media.
Well, just the television and social media alone.
Tim, how did you meet your wife? Is that too personal? Because she sounds like an unbelievable, supportive, beautiful, wonderful woman. She's giving you babies. She's saying, honey, you go make your art. Don't you worry about anything. I mean, this is what we want as dudes.
I met her in drama school when I was 23 years old.
Holy God.
Yeah, so we've been together. We've been married 20 years, and we've been together for 27 years.
Fantastic.
Are you still able to enjoy fruitfulness even with 3 children? Do they live with you?
Yes. What do you mean by fruitfulness? You mean having sex with my wife? What do you mean?
Fruitfulness. Yeah, Tim,
I want to make sure Tim's getting laid.
Are you productive?
It's not like, how James would reshoot some of the party scenes. Where it's, occurring in the public rooms of our home. But yes.
Is she a blondie or a brunette or redhead?
She's Mexican American.
Oh my God, Adam!
Adam, yeah, man.
All right,
dude.
James, you met her in Toronto, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow, that was an incredible question.
The fruitfulness thing, James?
Tim, you're just like, did you just ask me that? Did you ask me if I'm fruitful?
James, are you a single fellow or do you have a wife?
I am. I have a chocolate Labrador. That's my life.
Oh, God. See, I'm a dog dude, so now I'm in love with you.
Have you guys ever met Cox in person?
No.
He's
very handsome.
He's a very handsome.
He looks so young.
He's a very handsome and charismatic individual.
Yeah.
Now, James, let me ask you this, because I read this a lot. Like, when I'm doing research on you, and people they're like, "Wow, how come you're not making more movies?" People seem to get pissed off about this.
Well, more to come.
Okay, I hope so, dude.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you go on the message boards on IMDb or Reddit, wherever you could find anybody talking about you, man. And people get. I mean, I was.
Why the fuck aren't they running studios?
Yeah, right. Tell me.
It's been a bit. The time spent since Wonderland has been a lot of lot of lessons learned, and certainly, like I've really focused on writing. Like we came out of Wonderland, and like there was some stuff that didn't work in the movie specifically. Like, I mean, I think it's got a lot of legs, and we always said that it was timeless in its viciousness. But it really didn't connect when it hit the theaters. And I remember when it screened at Toronto, it really kind of went over like a Led Zeppelin.
Mm-hmm.
And there's likability issues in the first 15 minutes where, like, as one person said, the chief, the lead, a guy that was really involved in the early stages of the work, he was like, your movie's really solid in two demographics. I was like, yeah, which ones? He's like, AA meetings and prison. And like the accessibility on the John Holmes character, it's like if you've got that kind of heart that's empathetic to like human beings who aren't likable, then you can attach to it. But like, so there was I'm giving you the long version of, there were like some core lessons in screenwriting that, I had to go out and learn, as it turned out, the hard way.
Gotcha.
So it's been a process, and I'm excited on some of these movies that are in the pipe that are coming out. I think they will finally appease all these
fans. You're friggin' fans, dude. Yeah, you got a bunch of fans, James.
Exactly. That's fantastic.
Yeah, but Tom, you got to cut James some slack. He's an auteur. It's not easy to get auteur movies made in this fucking day and age.
I'm the voice of the people, Max.
I think at the time I just watched Grey Zone again, and it's such a fucking tremendous. And I've got a friend who was texting me the other night that I've got to go check out one of your newer ones, Tim, Leaves of Grass.
Oh, yeah, I'm very proud of that one.
Well, Tim, I gotta get Tim talking about something before we let you guys go, because I love his work with James Franco in As I Lay Dying. Tim, you're absolutely fabulous in that movie, dude. Seriously, that is an Oscar nomination worthy performance. Seriously, I totally dig it. What I love about you, Tim, is that you throw yourself in the big arena. You do your Incredible Hulks and your Fantastic Fours, but you lend yourself out there a lot, which is absolutely amazing. Can you at all tell me anything about Bukowski?
Yeah, sure. But before, lend myself out, I'm choosy. But when roles come,
you know what I'm saying, dude. Like, you give the little guys a shot too at your talents.
I don't look at. I mean, that's very kind of you to say, but from getting to play Billy Deverell to getting to play Ance Bundren to, I just did a day on Zeroville, James's movie that he was just shooting. These I look at as gifts to me. I mean, the experience of going out and
awesome. Tim, seriously, man, you're an amazing human being, dude. Like talking to you, seriously, that's so awesome.
I really mean it. I mean, I wouldn't trade the 2 weeks on Wonderland for anything.
Gotcha.
And thank you, man. That's awesome.
Oh, but I think we all felt that way. Before you got on, I was talking about how. What was amazing about that experience, which is unrivaled to me in terms of your ability to have done this, is that you created an on-set experience that, without ever being unhealthy, imitated or inspired the telling of the story. And when you can go and do that, I mean, that's why I went and trained as an actor. It's why I'm still doing it. So I really do mean it. I look at these roles as gifts to me. I don't consider myself generous in the least. I think it's a symbiotic relationship that actors have with great roles, and I've loved working with Franco. I'm about to do my 7th movie with him.
That's amazing.
we're doing Indubious Battle, which we're going to start shooting in a few weeks, based on the Steinbeck novel.
Yeah.
Bukowski,
I get the sense, Tim, that great roles come looking for you. Like,
Yeah.
with no modesty now, I want to know, out of the 40, 50 movies you've done, what's the ratio of auditions to directors or people just calling you and saying, we really want you, this is your role?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many just come to you?
that's all of them right now.
Yeah.
Fuck you!
Yeah, man.
I go,
Eat my shit.
Oh, me! I met James, and James. I wanted to play Ron Launius. It was Ron Launius, right? Not John, right?
Yeah, Ronnie. Yeah,
Ron. Yeah. And I, so that ultimately, the only reason that movie came my way is because they couldn't make a deal with Kevin Pollak, who was also appropriately cast because he's a wonderful actor and he looked like the guy. And the role of Bubba in The Good Girl, I was offered only because Jack Black couldn't do it. And then I was posting Gray Zone, and so I had to drop out. But then the guy with whom they replaced me was drunk on the set, and they fired him. And then they called and said, look, we're in a real jam. We'll work around your mixing schedule. Will you please step in and play Bubba? So it's always weird how these parts come your way, and sometimes you aren't even the first choice. You could be the third choice. So I don't know. I'll talk about Bukowski.
please,
Yes.
please let our listeners know. Let me know, please, what's going on.
Well, I think they cannot release the movie for another couple of years due to issues with the rights to Ham on Rye, because there's a dispute over the source material, and James doesn't own Ham on Rye, which is, if you're a Bukowski fan, that's his autobiography. But he got material from a biography of Bukowski. And so there's an argument between the guy who owns Ham on Rye and James, and there's some sort of a deal they made or settlement where James has to wait to release his movie. I think it's going to be, it was a great experience.
Now you play Bukowski's father in the film. Yeah.
He has three people playing Bukowski as he ages.
As a child, like a 6-year-old, right? As a teen.
Yeah.
And
6-year-old, and then middle schooler, and then 19 years old.
Late teen, yeah. And it's so funny, Max, because he's, Franco is obviously has, this great love affair with these American writers, and he's putting out these great movies, which is awesome. I didn't see Bukowski coming at all, Max. You know,
and there's so much to be derived from the writings anyway. So
absolutely,
I knew vague rumblings about the dispute, but it'll be very, very. I'm very anxious to learn how it all pans out. But then again, it's like, there have been 4 or 5 Bukowski movies. I mean,
yeah,
it takes a certain kind of person to give a shit about something that great.
I love Butterfly.
I think it's fucking masterful, but
it is. Of course it is.
It's a classic. But Factotum comes around. Yeah, all right. It was a piffle. I really thought they captured Factotum in many ways.
Yeah,
I mean, we got to do the work here. We gotta get this film out.
Well, what's really great. And Cox, are you familiar with Ham on Rye, with the Bukowski early life? Did you ever read Ham on Rye?
I did. I haven't read it for a while, but yeah, of course.
I was really nervous about how James was going to deal with and this is in the biography too, so I don't want for anyone to think I keep saying Ham on Rye. Obviously, I'm on James's side, and he did the biography, and it's not Ham on Rye, even though I keep using the term Ham on Rye. Just want to make that clear. But the pimples, the acne,
Yeah.
And he really goes for it in the movie. It's in there. He does not shy away from it. He does not let the audience off the hook in terms of what Bukowski's skin condition was like.
Right.
Which is not gratuitous, because without the skin condition, you don't have Bukowski's take on life. Without him having gone through that.
True.
You don't have Notes from a Dirty Old Man and Women and Factotum and Post Office. You don't have the later books, and you don't have the poetry and the contretemps of the poetry with who he was, because the poetry is so elegant and beautiful and sensitive. Anyway, I'm very excited for it to come out.
That's awesome.
So, Tim, was it hard for you as a father of 3 boys? I mean, I know it seems like you're pretty porous with your acting, like you can really separate what's going on here. But when you were the abusive father on that set and you're tearing into your son, do your other 3 sons, your real sons, come into it at all? Or do you go home at the end of the day emotionally drained?
On that one, I really, really did, and I didn't let the boys come out. They come to almost every set. And the 2 exceptions were, Wonderland, it really wasn't an issue because there was a newborn. Teddy had just been born, and there's no way they were going to come out. But they come to almost every set. And the 2 exceptions of late have been Bukowski, because of the reasons that are really ultimately described in your question, and As I Lay Dying.
Wow.
And that was just because the role was such a stretch for me. I really didn't have any business playing that role. They should have cast somebody about 15 or 20 years older than I was. And so when James asked me to do it, and we batted it back and forth, and because I was originally gonna play Danny McBride's part. And then James lost Richard Jenkins, who was going to play Ants. And then they asked Harry Dean Stanton, and he passed. And James was in a bind. And he said, look, why don't you just play it? And I said, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm only, James is 36, and I'm 50. And so I said, your Darl is not even the.
You pull it off, man. Yeah.
And so I didn't have them come because I knew it was going to be so much work to try to do it
you pulled it off, Tim. You did great. As a viewer, it doesn't even cross your mind that difference at all. You did such a marvelous job with that, man. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart. I'm not even I'm not a huge Faulkner guy, and I was we covered the movie, and I was kind of iffy about watching it. You really made that experience worthwhile for me.
Oh, well, thanks. Have you guys ever talked to James?
No.
Oh, you guys should have James on. I'm sure he'd do it.
Oh, well, we would love to have James on.
When's the last time you saw James? Are you guys still friends? After Wonderland ends, which was years ago, do you ever check in with each other?
I wish. But
yeah, right.
Cox lives in LA and I live here. We have a mutual friend named Holly Wiersma. And whenever I see Holly, we talk about Cox a lot.
Fucking Cox.
You do talk about Cox.
Sorry about that. But
was that an answer to the fruitful question?
Yeah, I would love to see James.
Yeah, Tim, I've got I guess I'll get it through Holly, but I'll reach out to you, and next time in New York, you're in LA, we'll get some coffee and catch up.
You come to New York?
Do you come to New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, occasionally. I haven't been for a minute, but to get to someone was asking questions about music earlier, and I was out in New York. I was writing a web series that was based on a true story about a girl that started a fashion line. She's was like a 23-year-old girl in Manhattan. And, it's I can't speak for Tim Blake's 16-year-old son, but I did some music videos with some hip hop guys. And, up until then I was really a rock and roll guy, you know, and like I've starting about 10 years ago or so, I really just started switching over to like music that really utilizes that when they say 5-1, you know, that one speaker, the sub. So it was funny, this girl, but I love me my rock and roll, you know, and so this girl had a friend. Her name was @IHateBlonde. It was all digital natives and social media and all that sort of stuff. That's how this clothing line had been blown up. She had this quote. She was like, you know, I'm in the clubs and they'll play rock and I'm just like, why?
Wow, that's deep.
You know, and it just, you know, they had, Mr. Morrison had that one thing, you know, the men don't know what the little girls understand. I just kind of looked at her and it just pissed me off so fucking much. I was like, do you know he's dead now, but he was a very important guy in a stairwell with a big, huge fucking thunderclap, fucking drum, whatever. Who cares, you know? But you know, she had no idea who Led Zeppelin was. Zero.
Yeah.
You know,
Led Zeppelin was my son is a classical guitarist, and his way into the guitar was Jimmy Page. That's what started him.
Nice.
When he was 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Talent's in the blood. When you two fuckers reunite, does it have to be over coffee, or can you enjoy some beverages together, like adult beverages?
I have no issue. I drink red wine every night. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
What's your favorite varietal, Tim?
I like Pauillac, Bordeaux's.
Okay, you're a hearty man. You're
The
a
heavy
man
stuff.
of yes.
Yeah.
What does James drink?
I would be drinking iced tea these days.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, if I did still partake in that sort of lifestyle, it would be probably a Jameson.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, nice brown whiskey.
James,
Maybe
no more drinks for you, man?
Spurs are on the wall.
Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes you got to hang them up, dude.
You know, what you asked a tough question a while ago about whatever. How come there weren't any more movies?
Oh, Tom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tom, why? I would never ask that question of James.
He was like,
Oh, stop.
Hey, Fox.
Like,
What did you think of Nightcrawler?
I fucking dug it. It's like I'm biased. I had when I was coming out of NYU, I had a project called Rubberneck that was exactly the same idea. That was like a dude that was selling, late night shit. So I fucking, I dug it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
We're covering Nightcrawler next month.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it, man.
I thought it was tremendous. You'll love it. It's
Nice.
quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, I am looking forward to seeing it, man. Definitely. When we're doing media movies, and what the hell else are we doing? Natural Born Killers and Zodiac, as well as Nightcrawler. So that should be a good.
Got 2 Jake Gyllenhaals in there.
Yeah. We don't get enough Jake Gyllenhaal on this show, so
He did. I thought, Tim, you agree, right? His stuff in Nightcrawler was strong.
Oh, tremendous. Although performance of the year for me is Timothy Spall and Mr. Turner.
Got it. Huh.
Oh.
Timothy Spall, Mr. Turner.
Thanks, Nelson's throwing out kudos.
Yeah, dude, he just like
Awesome.
that was the winning slam dunk at golf.
Exclusive.
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, he's like.
Tim Spall, we were just like, gotta give it up for that. Like, absolutely.
That's awesome. Hey, listen, I want to thank the both of you for coming on today, man, and joining us and celebrating Wonderland.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, it's been a great experience, and to talk to the both of you has been an absolute pleasure. I can't thank James Cox and Tim Blake Nelson. Let's give it up for them, guys. They were totally cool, man.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. And James, thanks for putting me in that movie. And talk to Holly and let's see each other next time in LA.
For sure, that'd be great.
And we'd love to have both of you back. Definitely sometimes in the future, man. Definitely.
You bet.
All right.
Take care.
All right, Tim. Thanks, James.
Thank
you.
you, guys. Be good. Have a great day.
Fellas.
You got it. There it is, Max and Adam. Tim Blake Nelson and James Cox.
Outstanding.
Yeah, man. That was pretty awesome, Max.
I know, right?
Did you enjoy
Are they
it?
gone?
Yes. I was so damn nervous for that one.
Why?
I don't know.
Well,
know.
Tom,
What the
we've
fuck?
got to be ready to go by the time these dudes come on.
I know. What's my problem here? I've done this a million times.
Well, I thought it was it all went well. I thought it was a good interview. Good guys.
Awesome.
Lots of information. Good stuff.
Definitely. Well,
That's
listen,
the kind of stuff I like doing.
let me tell our listeners that you could check out our discussion on Wonderland as well as Larry Clark's What's Up Rockers right next to this little interview on our website. I'd like to thank Max. I'd like to thank Adam. I'd love to thank James Cox. And I'd love to thank Tim Blake Nelson for taking time out and visiting the Cutting Room Movie Podcast. We are over and we are out. Ciao.
Tune in next time to satisfy more of your strange desires. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast. We do chicken right.